This is our 836 seat theater in the round. This is a stage that is completely immersive. All of our sets and costumes and designs have to take in consideration the fact that we're in the round. Underneath us is where the orchestra resides. We actually are dancing and performing on top of our orchestra the entire time. We do have a trap system that we're able to lower or raise people on the stage. Each aisle in the theater itself, we have a name that we call it so that when we're rehearsing or we're able to communicate these to our designers so that they know what aisles we're talking about. This is called our lobby aisle. So we say it's the lobby aisle because it goes towards the lobby. This is our holiday aisle. The holiday aisle is named after the fact that there used to be a Holiday Inn next door, and then it became a Ramada, and now it's of course the Wyndham. But we still call it the holiday aisle. It's been that way since the 80s. This is the main aisle. Main meaning that's the main one that goes towards the dressing room. A lot of our large pieces of furniture or set pieces will come down the main aisle. And then our final aisle is called the dog aisle. Before this building actually became with the new construction and they added the walls and everything to the theater, there used to be a chicken coop right next door, and there would be a dog on the farm, and they'd say affectionately, "Go towards the barking dog." We do have a grid system above us where we hang all of our lighting instruments. We have different lighting designers that come in and out every single show for the entire summer season. These people come from all over the country to do our lighting designs for us. We are able to fly things in and out. Unfortunately, it is not permanently rigged, so if we have a sign fly in or a piece of scenery fly in, we have to manually rig it and run lines all the way across the entire theater for somebody to raise or lower things to come in. We also have our scenic designers. They come from all over the country as well, as do our actors. I typically see around 1,500 people for our audition season. We're able to recruit some of the best kids from all over the country. We go to a lot of colleges, universities, we go to New York, we go to Chicago, and we try to get the best kids that we can for each show. Then for our crews, Scenic Shop, lighting, sound, wig designers, props designers, we have scenic painters. During our summer season, we are putting these shows up in 10 days. So we are working 12, 13-hour, 14-hour days every single day to try to make all of that possible. It's just really, really cool and a unique experience to see theater in the round. We're talking about our sound system here. We don't actually own most of our sound equipment. We do rent our equipment. It's a lot different doing sound mix in the round because what you hear on this side isn't necessarily what you're hearing on the other side of the theater. We typically are running between 25 to 30 microphones for our actors and another 10 to 20 microphones for our orchestra pit, which is all live musicians, by the way. We don't have canned music. They are playing live along with us, and there's typically between 10 and 14 orchestra members for every show. We have this great board that is all digital and computerized. When he presses a button and all 40 microphones shift, and they either go on or off, or they go to the levels that they need to be for each production number. So that's kind of really cool how that works to see that all in action. Next stop in our theater is our stage manager booth. We have our dimmer rack provided by Oprah Winfrey. Kind of a fun story. We bought this when Harpo Studios went out of business. We actually purchased this dimmer rack from Oprah Winfrey. So we have 96 dimmers, which we're able to run 108 or more circuits, which allows us to do about 200 lighting instruments. This is the power and the brains for all of our lighting equipment that we use throughout our productions. This is where our stage manager sits, and what they do, they're in charge of calling all cues. If there's something that flies in and out, or a trap cue where somebody comes up and down, she also calls that. She can flash a light down to the orchestra pit and let them know we're ready to actually bring that person up from the trap. Or if we need a specific sound cue or orchestra cue to happen at a specific time, she can flash the lights for them that way. And then we have our light board back here, which all of our lights are programmed on, and that is our stage manager booth. The backstage area of the theater. If we need a couch or a chair or there's a cart, it all gets staged in here, and then when the curtains open, we wheel all that stuff down on stage. It can get very crowded back here. These are our props tables. So if it's a letter or a gavel, a sword, anything, it all is located here. During the summer season, we do 7 productions, and we are rotating those props consistently throughout the season. Every show, there's a different prop setup and a different organizational thing that we do backstage here to make everything work for us. Our on-site storage, we have chairs, We have couches, we have tables, chairs, beds. We've been around for 65 years. We have stuff lying around. We have 2 dressing rooms located here where we hang costumes, where the actors put their makeup on. We have a laundry facility in there. We have bathrooms. And again, during the summer, there's, we're doing 2 shows basically at a time because one is running and one is preparing. So there'll be costumes lined up everywhere in there that they're either trying on for the next show or that are stored in there for the current show. We also do some offstage singing for some of our productions where we do that right here. We have a monitor, a visual monitor that we can see our conductor for our productions. And so like for Mamma Mia, it's required to do a lot of offstage singing. So we had our entire cast surrounded by a couple of microphones here, and they were able to conduct, and we were able to provide all of that background vocals that you heard if you did get a chance to see Mamma Mia last year. This is our lighting, where our lighting engineer sits. We have a lot of repair work that we have to do, and our technicians do a great job of upkeeping that material while they're here. And we have more storage. This is all of our cabling, all of our gels and gel frames, whatever we need to do for each production. This is our rehearsal room of the theater. This gray area that we have painted on the floor is exactly the same size as it is down there on the stage. In the summer seasons, it's really exciting to kind of see the sets come together for each production. They'll start building the sets downstairs in the shop, and we'll bring that set up here to the rehearsal hall, and we'll actually put it in here first. It gets moved down onto the main stage, and then you see it during the actual performances. We have to do changeover in basically 2 days. So a show will come down on Saturday night. We stay all night long and strike that set. We take it completely apart, and then we start putting the other one up and together. And that's on Saturday night. We have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and an audience on Wednesday. We're pretty much working almost 24 hours a day to try to make that happen. And we have some costume storage in here. This is mostly for our kids shows that we use. We also have our music director sits over here. We have a music director and an assistant. So they're able to teach the music very quickly throughout the season. If we're doing a big musical, sometimes we spend only a day or a day and a half on music. This would be section 1. That's where the audience comes in from. This is section 2. It goes around like a little clock. Section 3, this is where the orchestra pit is. And then over here is section 4, and this is where our stage manager's booth is. That way, the actors have an idea of where that kind of is when they're actually out in the space. This is our costume shop of our theater. Typically during the summer season, we have 3 people working in the shop. We have our designer, Steven, who usually sits right here. And then we have our 2 Stitcher wardrobe people that sit on these 2 chairs here and are working feverishly on costumes all summer long. We have fittings throughout the summer season where actors are coming down here and getting their costumes on and tried on and getting things hemmed and measured. A lot of times there'll be these mannequins will have the costumes on them, and we're able to come down here and Stephen will display them in the doorway. It's really exciting for the actors to be able to see what they're actually going to be putting on as part of their costume for the actual production. There's a lot of work that goes into doing that. Again, they only have 10 days to kind of get all that stuff together. So they spend a lot of hours down here designing and putting together all of our costumes for our summer season. This is the prop shop. Everything is categorized and labeled and organized so that we're able to find things rather quickly down here. It's fun for me as somebody who's been here for 25 years to look around, and I can associate almost every item in here with a production that I've done here. The beer steins that are up here, I can think of Beauty and the Beast or Oliver, or I can see the umbrellas when I can think of Singing in the Rain. And the billy clubs, I can think of Pirates of Penzance. So it's really fun. It's kind of a trip down memory lane. Every time I come down here, we have typically one prop designer, and they are building, designing, pulling things for entire shows. It's a lot of fun and it's very crafty, so if you're crafty, you'll love the prop shop. This is our Scenic Shop. This used to be the rehearsal room for the theater back in the early 80s. So if you look at the ceiling, where I can almost touch it, I'm like 5'8". So this is very, very low ceilings. So you can imagine doing a show where we have lifts or we have a lot of tall actors trying to actually do their rehearsals of a show down here. It is the same size as the stage, but I mean, there was absolutely no head height. So it's kind of fun to think, I didn't have to do that, but it's kind of fun to think what it would have been like to have to rehearse down in this space. When this was the rehearsal hall, you might be wondering, where did they build the set? Well, they would build it in the chicken coop, which was located right next door. We typically have around 4 or 5 crew members working in the shop that are doing the construction of each set. And again, our designers, since we are in the round, we can't borrow or rent things from other theaters. We really have to reinvent it. We have to think about how we're gonna do that set in the round. Sometimes it will take up to a year to do a design. We're typically starting in January or October of the year before the season, getting with designers and talking what those sets will look like, how we're going to make them work in the round. This is the set design that we came up with for our production of Mary Poppins a few years back. David Lepore was the designer for that, and he was nice enough to actually build a model for us to scale. As a director and a choreographer, it's very helpful to see how this set would work or function, so I could figure out how I was going to move things on and off stage, where I was going to be able to do step in time, how I was going to have Mary Poppins fly. The grid comes off, so I'm able to actually get inside the set and actually take a good look at that. These would be where all the lighting instruments are above, and then we had all these set pieces that were hung in here. We had a flying company that actually came in that did all of the flying for Mary Poppins. She was able to track back and forth, and we have a little flying Mary Poppins here to represent that. And then this part of the design, I was able to actually figure out how things were going to move. These beds all move in and out. It's really kind of clever. All of these platforms actually moved and shifted around, so we were able to do that for step in time to actually feel like we were on the rooftops of London. We have the orchestra pit cut out, and we were able to go in and out of this little chimney because the actors were able to kind of sneak down into the orchestra pit. We were able to kind of figure all this stuff out in advance, which is a big advantage. It's easier to visualize it when you have a model. Another interesting part of our scene shop here is that we have a tunnel that leads to the underneath part of the stage, and we affectionately call it the Shawshank. In order for us to go under the stage and get in there for any kind of a special effect where maybe somebody comes through the floor of the stage, we have to crawl through this too. We have to sometimes carry our costumes through there with us, a wig, it could be a prop, whether if it's the Wicked Witch in Wizard of Oz, she has to carry her hat, her broom, her dress, and crawl all the way through Shawshank with all of those items. The orchestra gets a big kick out of it because they get to see them come kind of pop in and out of the orchestra pit during the show. We have 2 or 3 crew members that are actually operating that trap system to be able to have those actors go up and down when they are doing those special effects. That's our Shawshank. Every theater has a ghost light. When the theater is dark or the stage is not in use, it's really so that people don't trip or fall on anything on the stage when it is dark. But we use it as a symbol when we put them on the stage to let people know that the stage is never really vacant. There's always an energy to the theater, to the space, and we never want that energy to leave, so we use the ghost light to kind of represent that for us.